Super pumped for this topic today of branding because I feel like branding it can be at least a confusing term in business. What does it really mean? Why is it important? How can it impact your bottom line? How to actually implement branding? And it is so much more than maybe you even think. And it is extremely, extremely important. It is something that I have prioritized over 17 years. And I'm super excited to bring Rita on, a fellow mama and branding expert, to chat about this subject because it is that important. So give us hashtag live or hashtag replay, depending on the juicy subject of what branding is. And it would be really fun if you wrote down what you think it is before you watch this interview. And then by the end of this interview, maybe it's the same, maybe it's different, and that could impact your business. Hi, Brad.
Hey,
Welcome to the
thanks
show.
for having me.
Absolutely. You are glowing and you're smiling. I can't think of a better way to start my day.
I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. So, for those that don't know you, welcome Rita to the show. And you're local to Columbus, Ohio, which
Yes,
I love.
yes.
So, tell the audience. I always sound so official when I tell the audience. Tell all the mamas out there, if you were to explain branding to somebody that really, I have no idea, how would you explain it, and why is it important for us to prioritize?
Well, I think a lot of people think when they hear branding, the first thing they think is like their logo. And your brand is not your logo. You can have the most basic logo, and that is not the most important thing. And I think one of the most important things to your brand is figuring out your target audience, your messaging, right? Which is how you come across, how you share things online. I'm getting so much feedback, so I'm like trying to make sure it's just me.
Oh no! We were just talking about how the live feature can be a little challenging. Do you still have feedback?
No, it's better now. It's
Okay.
better now.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me. So the messaging, and then I think the problem that a lot of females and women have is figuring out what makes you different, and really it's so simple. Really, the only thing that makes you different is you, right? Like, that is the thing that makes you different. Your experience is what makes you different. And really stop being afraid to put yourself out there. I think a lot of women, especially, are afraid to actually put themselves and their businesses out online for fear of judgment. I don't really know what it is, but maybe they're just not confident enough at this point. But the more you do it, the easier it gets.
I would
So,
agree. Well, and it's, there's going to be fear no matter what we choose to do. There's fear to apply for the job. There's fear to go talk to the cute guy, right? There's always fear involved in doing something that we either haven't done yet or maybe we don't feel like we're good at yet. And so I always love to work with people of which one is the cheaper route? Because if you knew going online and building a brand would set your family up for massive success now and in the future, would you be willing to work through that fear? And I think putting things into perspective like that can be so powerful because it's well, of course, if I knew it was a guarantee. And I think that's what trips people's brains up, is the online space still doesn't feel like a guarantee to most people as a corporate job does. So when somebody is wanting to come online, build a brand, build that presence, target their audience, and they're working through the fear. So they're like, Rita, tell me what to do. I'm willing to do it. So what would be some practical steps that they could take as they're working through the fear?
so I just celebrated 10 years in business, right? And I'm so excited that I made this accomplishment. But I tell you, when I first started, I was so afraid to maybe get on and do a live or anything like that. And I remember my first coach, she made me, and I'm telling you how long ago this was. This was back when we were doing Periscope, right? So she made me do a challenge with her. So every day I had to get on and do a Periscope with her. And I mean, I had to do it myself, but she was also doing it as well as a way to like accountability for me. And when I tell you that the first time that I did that, I almost had an anxiety attack. I thought that I was going to die, you know, because I couldn't see anybody and I was just having so much anxiety and fear about it. And so I had my little notes of like three little bullet points that I was going to talk about. And of course, they were about branding. And so I was like, I got on there and I spoke real fast and I did it. But every day it got so much easier. Even though I still had the anxiety, I still was a little bit nervous each time. And so I think really what you need to do is to figure out who your target audience is. You know, it's really, really not as hard as people make it out to be. Oftentimes figuring out who your target audience is you 5 years ago. And that's a really simple way to put it. But if you want to get like deeper and figure out who it is, you can, you know, there's a lot of exercises and questions that you can really figure out who it is, because when you know who your target audience is, you can write to them better, you can create content for them better, you can create offers for them better. And so once you know who they are and you're ready to actually tell the world in social media who they are, then you get out and you make these little, you know, you prepare, and then you can get out on social media and start talking to your audience and making content for them. And the more that you do it, the easier it does get. And so I would just encourage people to actually do that, because it is scary, but it'll be okay.
Yes, it will. And it's mostly scary because we just haven't done it enough
Right,
time.
right.
And I love the challenge that you did, and that's so applicable to anything. Like if
Mhm.
it's you want to get better at real or at email marketing, like
Yeah,
put yourself in your own challenge. You could grab an accountability buddy, but like you got better because you did it enough times.
yeah,
And then you could apply different strategies after it was a habit, which I think is huge. And so often we're trying to compare ourselves to people that are many chapters ahead, and we just get to like focus on our lane and getting better. And that's how we can get to any and all goal that we desire, big and small, is focus on getting better day in and day out, which is hard because we live in a very instant gratification world
right.
and we want everything now.
But also just and just do it. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's something that I learned along the way, is that I think that oftentimes we get caught up in the feeling that it has to be perfect. If I don't have it perfect, then I'm not going to do it. When I tell you a lot of the things that I put out 10 years ago, I cringe at. You know,
Yeah.
like I want to crawl under a rock right now. If somebody was to bring it out, I might die, but I would still be like, that was part of the process. And, that's just how things are, so it is part of the process. And the more that you delay letting people know about your business, the harder it's going to be for you to actually make money in your business. And I think that that's where a lot of women specifically get caught up. For some reason, we get caught in that feeling of fear. I think it's a lot of fear and just self-doubt.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and it's when you have that outside accountability, it can help
Yeah,
reduce
push you.
that.
It
Yeah,
definitely pushes you.
because you're like, okay, like how your coach was doing it
Yeah,
and you're like, well, if she's doing it, I don't want to let her down.
yeah,
So it can
yeah.
be a really helpful thing to do to like get you through that hump, because if we never do it, like you said, it's just making things harder long term. So it's,
Yeah.
do we want, that short term get through it type of energy, or is it the long, grueling, painful
Right.
type?
Well, And like just to like touch back on branding and why it's so important in your business, I feel like having a clear understanding of your brand is key to everything in your business. If you don't understand your brand, if you're not clear on every single piece of your brand, then your business is going to experience a little bit, of pitfalls right there. If your offers aren't clear and they're not speaking to your target audience, that's going to be a problem for you. So getting really clear on your brand, it really is really crucial. And a lot of people don't understand, like there's two aspects of your brand. There's the strategy and the identity. And the identity is the pretty part. That's the visuals, your fonts, your colors, and your logo, and all of those things. And then the strategy, that's the part, right? Like that's the key to everything. But with the identity, you want to just remain consistent so that when people see your colors, your fonts, your logos, you become recognizable with those items. So a lot of times what I see is people will have a color palette, fonts, logos, and then they'll be like, "Oh, that's boring," and they'll change it up, right? And then they'll they'll do that for a little while, and then they'll change it up again, and then they'll under the guise of rebranding. But just stick it out, keep it the same, and just push forward. There's nothing wrong with that. But your strategy is ever evolving. There's nothing wrong with your strategy evolving. Your colors and all of that stuff can become a little bit more sophisticated over time. But what I mean is like people changing it up so drastically, like month to month,
For
that's
sure.
what I mean. Yeah.
Well, and if you think about Starbucks, they have such a predictable brand that you can go to any Starbucks around the country and order your favorite drink, and for the most part, it will be consistent. So, like from a product standpoint, it's that consistency factor as well that I think is huge. So, for somebody that is like, how do I know if my strategy is working or not? Because sometimes it just needs more time.
Yeah.
So what are some things that they can do if they're like, okay, I know what I can do to like nail my identity. I feel like that's easier for most people because it is like the fun, pretty stuff. But the strategy I feel like is what I hear the most women struggle with. They either don't know if it's working, they don't know how to make it work, or they are like, I'm burning it down and changing it. So what are some like what's some advice that they can work on when it comes to the strategy of the brand?
So oftentimes the problem with the strategy is that it's too broad and they haven't narrowed it down specifically regarding your target audience, right? Often people want to say, "Oh, I work with anybody who's between 30 and 50 years old. I work with everybody." And while that may be the case, right, you can work with everybody. However, when you're creating your marketing, collateral, products, offers, all of those things, it's good to have one person in mind. And so in marketing, in branding, there's a thing called the power of one. And if you can really narrow and hone in into the power of one, then that is going to be more powerful than you focusing in on a lot of people. So for me, for instance, I work with women entrepreneurs. Does that mean that I don't ever work with men? No, it doesn't. It just means that when I create my offers and all of the things on my website, all of my social media, all of my content, it is geared to attract women entrepreneurs. So what I'm saying is when you're creating those things, you need to keep that one person in mind. So really, I know niching down and all of that stuff can be taboo to like niching down to one person and all of that stuff, but often that's the problem that people are suffering with. They're not targeted enough.
Yeah, I remember years ago when one of my mentors worked with me on this. And I was like, okay, I will try your way. And much to my surprise, it worked.
Yeah.
So, my advice to anyone that is on the fence of like, oh, niching down, I'm so like exhausted by hearing that, could it be the very thing that literally catapults you to one, serving more humans,
Mm-hmm.
and making the money that you desire. Like, give it the old college try, right?
Right.
Like, give it the try and go all in. To your point, I love the term, the power of one. So I'm glad that you shared that. And really focus on that, and you may surprise yourself. Like, we don't know until we try
Right.
anything. And so if
And
that,
don't give up so quickly. Like really focus in and like, and
yes,
one thing that I like to do is really focus in on the numbers, you know. So are you tracking how many conversions are you getting? Are you looking at your traffic? I like to do this once a month, and not just looking at like my website traffic or my social analytics, but I'm looking at my numbers, like my sales, and I'm looking at where are my sales coming from, what products am I selling, because if I'm selling a particular product or service more, I'm going in on that service and product even more than the other ones. Do you
yes,
know what I'm saying? So really looking at your numbers as a whole versus just looking at your traffic to your website.
I love
So yeah, there's a lot more to look at than just one set of data.
Yes, and it really does. Like, data tells a story.
Hmm.
And when you can be that detective and look at it, especially the numbers that you mentioned, like likes and comments and views are great, but it's not going to pay the bills at the end of the day. It could lead to, owned traffic, that getting them to your email list. But, I think so often people are fixating on those
Hmm.
numbers more than they're focused on like the conversion, the traffic to the website or funnel. And those are the more important numbers because it's quality.
Right.
Like, you could have 10 people that go to your funnel and one person buys a $10,000 product. And
Right.
then you could be a person on IG that has 100,000 followers be making no money.
Right. Right.
So,
So
you know,
vanity metrics over actual conversions. And I think that those are more important to look at. And I think that often we get stuck in those vanity metrics.
we
So
do. And I think it becomes like, I always wanted to be the popular girl in school and I wasn't. And so I have to catch myself. Like,
mhm.
I have to really catch myself and be like, okay, are those the most important numbers?
Yeah.
And, they can leave clues of like what people are interested in to create more of that type of content to then drive traffic. But if we're only fixating on that for popularity, it's, it's never going to be enough because it's an infinite number, right? We're only going to chase more.
And because I'm local, I've been really looking at trying to come up with a more, I guess, well-rounded approach to marketing versus just spending all of my time online, because I've been doing it online for so long. I want to meet actual, like
Yes.
people in real life. I want to get out of my home. So I've been doing a more, well-rounded approach. And so I feel like there are ways that we can do all of the things well and equally. And I think that in our current market, I think that we actually need to do more of those things as well. And I think that putting your eggs in one basket is really not where it's at anymore. We can't do that.
Yeah, it's really positioning yourself in the right place at the right time and being prepared
Yeah.
because all roads lead to that like aha moment of like you're at a networking event and someone's like, oh my gosh, I've been needing a brand strategist.
Right.
But you leading up to that networking event, you were prepared.
Hmm.
So, I think there's definitely phases that people need to go through to have that moment that converts to sales. And it's so, I find that people have a hard time putting in that prep work because you're not immediately getting paid.
Hmm.
And we live in such that the world of like, let me show up to work, I'm going to get a paycheck on Friday type of thing. And building a brand that is sustainable and long lasting, and I would love to hear your opinion, like can take some
Hmm.
time and effort and money to invest.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, just like with any type of networking, right? Like networking is a form of marketing, right? So I think that it's relationship building. right? So it takes time. People need to get to know you. They need to realize that they like you. They need to realize that you know what you're talking about, and they need to learn to trust you. Especially now, what I'm finding is that there's so much noise, especially online, and that's why I'm saying you need to kind of have that well-rounded approach to your business. At least that's what I'm seeing, is that it cannot be just online. It needs to be multifaceted. And so just giving people that time, and the more content that you put out, the more people will learn to know you and be able to trust you.
Well, I love that you mentioned that because I was at the grocery store last week, and I love marketing just as much as I'm sure you love like branding and marketing everything. And there was a real estate agent that was advertising on all of the shopping carts, which from your point, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
They had their name, their face, right? Brand recognition. I go to social media, I can't find them anywhere. I searched their name, I searched their company name, nothing showed up. And it kind of shocked me because I know advertising on grocery carts is probably not the cheapest thing.
Right, right.
So, it was just an aha moment to me of like, I love the in person with the online, but let's make sure we, like, from your perspective, the brand transcends and translates on both sides. So that way, like, if I found them on social and then they had all of these juicy, valuable videos that led to their email list, right? Like, we don't want to just do things to like check a box. Like, to
Right.
your point earlier, there needs to be a strategy in play, that we're playing chess here and we're not just like throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Exactly.
So maybe
No.
I'll send you their name. Maybe you can reach out to them and say, hey, I can
Can
help you.
I help you?
Right. And most of the time, marketing is the first to go when people cut expenses.
Well,
Why do you think that is?
Well, because they don't see that immediate ROI, right? That's the problem. They tend to focus more on something that they feel like is an immediate expense for them, and they don't understand that marketing can actually help you get sales. And so yeah, I think that that's the biggest problem. And also it really depends on what you're spending your money on for marketing. Are you putting your money into the wrong places for marketing? It's really, that's something to actually look at. And so in one of my, offers, I often am going in there and looking and see, like, where are the holes? What's missing here? And often we find that there are a lot of holes that are,
Right.
causing leaks.
Yes.
Maybe it's spending money where it shouldn't be spent, or offers are, you're not charging enough. I mean, there's so many different factors.
Well, and I think having somebody come in with fresh eyes and energy, taking the shame away from it. Every business owner is doing a million things at once.
Right.
And a lot of times they're not marketing or branding experts, and they're trying to be. And
Right.
so I think, there gets to be this, let's take all the shame away from anything in your business, including this conversation. And you just like waving your white flag and being like, okay, show me where the holes are. Because the holes could lead to thousands upon hundreds of millions of dollars, depending on your business. And so you just seeing where those tweaks are, like, I love the saying, small hinges swing big doors. Like,
Mhm.
you can come in with that fresh energy and eyes, and most importantly expertise, and really see, okay, let's tweak this, let's modify this. And business owners they're going to get shit done,
Right.
but it's the brain fatigue I have found working with people, that they're so inundated with everything that they're like, just, can you just tell me what to do?
Right. Right. Well, especially, like us, or mom business owners, right? Because we're trying to
Yes.
do all of the things. And often, and I always tell my clients, they're not hiring out soon enough. They're not hiring an assistant soon enough, often because it's control and it takes time and effort to train somebody to actually do the things for you. And so, that I think if somebody would hire a VA a lot sooner, then they could actually start making money quicker, because then they would be able to focus on marketing themselves and the sales for themselves versus doing the busy work, which is often what entrepreneurs get caught up in, is the busy work, because they feel like they're working, right?
Yes, it is definitely a different vibe going from, getting paid at a corporate job to them being an entrepreneur. It takes a different mindset. It takes more patience. It takes, sometimes even more determination, more
Yeah.
skills, more knowledge, more delegation. And that's not, a lot of us aren't used to that. Like, no one's born being like, I'm a great entrepreneur, right? Like, it
Yeah.
is a required thing that will help it be easier, but does take some practice.
Well,
And
I think this is what I've seen, is that people feel like when they start a business that they're really just going to be doing the thing that they're selling, right? They don't understand that there are so many other things that they have to do too, right?
yeah,
Not only do I have to do the thing, but now I'm a content creator. Now I'm a marketer.
yes,
Now I'm a salesperson. Now I'm a bookkeeper. Now I'm doing finances. Like, what the hell? I have to do all these things,
yes,
or I have to hire somebody to do those things, and I can't afford to hire somebody, so I have to do all the things,
yes,
you know?
yep,
So I think, and that's where the fatigue comes in. It becomes so overwhelming, especially in the beginning, that they're just like, I can't do this. It's too much.
yes. And it does break my heart because too often I see people give up because of that fatigue
Yeah,
right before they have
the
what I call
breakthrough.
their tipping point. Yeah, I'm like, you're so close. Like, if you just knew. And so it's like, going back to your point, we also get to have an internal strategy to help accomplish your goals, because every person's goals are different. And so instead of us just chasing vanity metrics, top line revenue, like, what do we actually like? Why are we starting a business? Like, yes, we want to impact lives, but like,
No,
that's
that they're starting a business for time and financial freedom. That's it.
correct. Correct. And so, but I feel like we then are working more. Like, I've had to check myself many times because I'm like, wait a second. I started my business to be a mom, like, so I could be a present at home mom.
Right.
And like, it's just very easy to lose yourself in this world.
Well, you know
And
what
why?
I have admired? I've admired moms who were able to actually build a business around their life and not a life around their business. Because when I started, I definitely built my life around my business.
Yep.
And it was because I was so determined to prove to myself and to everybody else that I could do this. And that no, I didn't need to go back to work like everybody kept telling me that I should do.
Yes.
I wanted to be home with my sons, and I was going to make it happen. But then I started feeling bad because my kids would draw pictures of me being on my computer, and they would go into kindergarten and tell everybody, like, when they fill out those papers, what does your mom do all day? Work. She's on her laptop all day, like that's all she does.
Yeah.
So, and I still am, I still live with that, but I just feel like also remember me being on my laptop and the two of them sitting right beside me the entire day, them playing and them being content and happy, and me being happy because I was able to be there with them, you
Yes.
know. But it's just so much to try to do at one time. But yeah, for me, I started because I wanted that time and financial freedom, but that time freedom, it takes time.
Yes. I love that. That's the quote of the day. The time freedom takes time.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
it does
Snaps
not
for
come
that.
fast. Yeah. it,
Snaps for that.
it
And
does come fast.
knowing that you can't do it all yourself is a part of the strategy of creating time freedom, which I think is huge too, of like you get to work on delegating, whether it be to a software, because there's lots of software and automations out there, and equally eager, hungry people that would love to help you build your brand and your business. So I know we're over time. Where can people find you? What have you got going on? Like tell us all the things.
Well, I mean, if you're local to Columbus, you can find me running around. I'm, you know, at the Branch Moms. I started this mom group over here. But I have my podcast, which is Mom Owned and Operated, and that's all about me interviewing mom business owners and figuring out like how they were doing all of the things because I really needed to know. And you can go to my website. I'm at ritasuzanne.com. And I'm on all the socials at Rita Suzanne Strategy.
Yes, I love it. So good. And do you, from a service perspective, do you have one-on-ones, products that people can purchase? Like what can they?
So I have a one-on-one offer, and there's like different tiers to it. And basically, you know, the first tier is the branding tier. And so if they really need some branding help, that's the place to go.
I love that. And you know, you're such a warm, open person. Reach out to Rita. Just ask her, like, if you get, you know, confused with like where do I fit into her world, like send her a DM and just have a conversation and get the party started, because branding is so important and you'll be so glad that you prioritized it. And I love that you shared the identity piece and the strategy piece and that you can support them with both. And it's really building that massive asset that you own.
Mm-hmm.
And what a powerful thing to have as a mom.
Yes.
Like that is
super important.
It's a retirement strategy, in my opinion. Like the best retirement strategy on top of everything else. So thank you for coming on. I love to end with like just a little nugget. So for those that are like want to go run and you know, improve their brand today, what could be one thing that they do today?
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's you got me on this one. That's a great question. So because it's such a hard one. I would say really, really focus in on the most important thing to me is target audience. Like really just go look at your target audience, see if you feel like you are looking at one person. And I always ask 4 questions, you know, like I have 4 big questions when it comes to target audience. We want to look at the demographics of them, you know, basic information. Who are they? Where do they live? Are they married? Do they have kids? All of those things, because those affect buying decisions, even though that's like really, you know, it's like, why do I care if this person's married? It matters. Okay. So, you know, what are their issues? What are their needs? You know, what are the solutions that you can offer to them? And then how are you going to go above and beyond with those solutions for them? So that's kind of the basis for target audience that I use. So just kind of look at those things and just evaluate if your target audience avatar is clear or not.
I love that. And it will get more clear the more you talk to them too. Like I'm always asking my person questions. I'm like, tell me more. Like, what can I help you with? And even if it's free stuff, like it's so helpful to know.
Yeah. And just know that it can evolve, and it will change. And just, you know, don't feel like you're stuck if you make this one avatar that it has to be like this forever. You know, you can modify it and change it. Just, you know, don't go too off the board. And you can have multiple avatars. I do want to say that you can have multiple avatars in your business for different products and services. However, when you are just starting, it's better to just have one so that you can really hone in on that one person, sell that one service to them and one product to them effectively. Once you get that nailed down and your business is making money consistently, your business is sustainable, then you can add on more avatars. But until then, just stick with one.
Yes, thank you for that. I appreciate that because I get that question a lot too. I'm like, let's nail one first. So I couldn't agree more. So thank you for staying extra time today and pouring into all the mamas. And I can't wait to see you soon. I miss you.
All right. Yes, let's get together soon.
Yes.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, Rita.